Greeting YouTube. I saw a forum thread recently which was dealing with unusual D&D settings, which reminded me of the most unusual D&D setting I ever played in, and in fact, the most unusual one that I think we ever used ever. And that was Larry Niven's Ring World. So it was a fully fleshed high fantasy D&D game. It was back in the first edition era. I think first edition, maybe it had been, we might have migrated to second edition at that point, but I don't remember. It didn't matter. Early D&D. And on the Larry Niven's Ring World, which for those that don't know it, Larry Niven's Ring World is a strip of matter. It's a matter called script. It's a possibly unbelievably strong material to pull this off. It kind of looks like very shiny, silvery metal. And it is the same. The ring is the same diameter as Earth is from the sun, so it's 93 million miles um, in radius, so 186 million miles in diameter, and 1 AU, essentially 1 astronomical unit. And it's about, I think it was 10,000 miles wide, and the walls at the edge that hold the atmosphere in were 1,000 miles high or something like that, but really friggin' big. Um, and so it was just this strip of matter, and it was rotated to create artificial gravity, and the sun was in the middle, and there were panels made from some other impossibly strong material halfway between the sun and the inner surface of the ring, which provided day and night. So there were big rectangular panels that would block the sun and also generate power, I believe. And so your demarcation line between day and night was very sharp. It went day, night, essentially. Um, and so the inner surface of the ring was something like 3 million times the surface area of Earth, or maybe a 3 billion. I don't know. It was a really unbelievably high percentage, a multiple of Earth's surfaces. So large. Actually, it was more than 1,000 miles wide. It was 100,000 miles wide? I don't know, but I know on the inner surface there was one-to-one maps of all of the Earth's continents, one-to-one maps, I think, of Mars, a couple of other worlds that had one-to-one scale maps on the inner surface. They were flat, obviously, because they were maps. Essentially, they looked just like our world, and if you were standing on them, you would not know that you were not on Earth, except for the fact there's a big frigging arch that went over your head. just a huge arch that went over your head. And that was the other side of the ring that you could not get to. So you'd have to spend many, many lifetimes moving around, unless you had a spacecraft, to get from one side of the ring to the other. And this campaign was on the Earth map, and I think it was because it's Proto-Europe. We were in the European zone, I think. And I believe my character had a Polish name, so I may have been around the Polish area. I'm not sure why. It didn't make any sense. Then again, having a D&D game set on the inner surface of the ring world didn't make a lot of sense either. But he was a fighter, and Vajna Kopekchen, maybe it was Russian, I'm not sure. But yeah, Vajna Kopekchen, I think. Yes, that sounds more Russian. Or I may have made up a name to sound vaguely, Russianish, Slavic. Um, and he fought with a piece of pipe, which was 2 meters long, and it was made from the material that the ring itself was made from, which is called script. So it's this impossibly tough, strong material that essentially we can't harm. And it had threaded ends, which I had things I could attach to them. I think I had weights attached to them. I could put a spear point. It was a multi-function tool, but most of the time I just used it as a staff. And the campaign didn't run very long. I think we only played like 5 or 6 sessions. The vibe wasn't right. Sometimes that happens. But that was the strangest setting we ever ran. Um, And I don't know, remember how the GM explained the fact that we had magic and it worked. It was full Vancian magic, so it wasn't like some thinly veiled psionic system. Like, for example, if we were using um, the psionic rules, which I hated the psionic rules in the early generations of D&D. They didn't get good until uh, they were decent at 3.0. They got good at 3.5, and of course they achieved their apex of awesomeness in Dreamscarred Press's modification of those rules for Pathfinder. Just unbelievably good psionic rules, best spell point system ever written. But if you use that, you could kind of, massage the fact that the people may have thought it was magic, but it was actually psionics, which is a lot more science fiction friendly than Vancian spell systems. We never explained it. It just was. We were on the inside of the ring. And I will try to put a link below on the ring world if I can remember the stats, since that's the wiki. So I know I probably got the numbers wrong. It's really freaking wide. Maybe it was a million miles wide. It might have been a million miles wide. And the wall was 10,000 miles high. Yeah, that's right. A million miles wide, 10,000-mile high wall to keep the atmosphere in. That's what I meant. That's what I think it is. So yeah, big, 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 with lots of races and lots of animals and incredible diversity of life, because you just had so many different zones, and evolution could just spread out over everywhere over time. And it would just take so long for one species, I mean, generations after generations of an animal species to get very far on this world. I mean, think how long would it take you just to walk from one side of the ring to the other? It's a million miles wide. How long would that take you? If you could get past all the obstacles in your way, because there are going to be rivers and seas and oceans and lakes and mountain ranges, all of them built. Now, they weren't real. They were all made of this metal with a thin layer, not necessarily thin in the sense of not as thick as geologic layers of earth and stone, but underneath it was this material. Um, there were also sky cities, though I don't think all the sky cities still functioned. I think most of them had crashed over time. Um, and of course, in the actual novels, no one was an ancient previous race that was trying to move their entire species from one place to another. And so instead of building ships and leaving, they turned their entire system into a ship. This ring world was just going through space with the sun at the middle. And Limited had to do all kinds of English spins on how to justify and use any kind of science fiction trope possible to make it even soft science fiction, let alone hard science fiction. But it's a beautiful idea. It's awesome looking. If you've ever seen the illustrations, go look up some Ringworld illustrations. They're just incredible. And I've got the Ringworld role-playing game, which was from Chaosium Press, which I do. Yeah, the system was all right. I thought it was a little too complex, but that's just me. Percentile based. Yeah, percentile based. Lots of skills. You could increase individual skills, so it was not a class-based system. It's like D&D is. So we didn't use the system that was from the role-playing game itself. We just slapped D&D on the world itself. And again, I don't remember how we pulled this off or why we pulled this off, and I am no longer in contact with the person that ran the game. But that was the weirdest I ever had, and this has been very rambly. I apologize. So I want to hear, what's the weirdest campaign you have ever run? It's the world you ran it on. Was it a completely aquatic world? Was it a completely arboreal world in the tops of the trees? Was it in Niven's smoke ring? Was it, where was it? Niven was good at this. Was it on a Dyson sphere? Was it on a Taurus, a Toral world? Was it on a disc world? So where was it? What was and are you still running it? Do the weird worlds lend themselves to long-term campaigns, or does something break down at a point and people just like being on a planet? You know what I mean? Let's talk about the weird campaigns.